place on my heart a long time before Rebecca had came to the book club and saying, hey, I want to start a podcast, kind of feeling who would be interested in joining her. I jumped right in, told her about my content rating idea, and she was like, yes, I agree. So it's just something that we at Bloop think is necessary. So what is a content rating? A content rating is not a censorship of any sort. We are not judging you for what you read. We're not trying to tell you what to read. We're not trying to tell authors what they should or should not put in their books. We're simply a tool through our reviews to help readers better gain an understanding of, like, is this book for me or not? So, for example, there are a lot of people who want to read a romance but don't want to read about the actual acts. They want closed door. And maybe they want a little more than closed door, but not super graphic. So there's a wide range here. So next week we can discuss more on our content ratings. But I thought, and got Rebecca's advice on that as well, was we have a children's category, which is safe for all ages. We have a middle grade category, which is mainly safe for all ages. And then what we did was we thought young adults should be split up, right? I hear a lot of people review and say, oh, this is older YA. Well, like, what is older? Like, what does that mean? So we have YA 12, which means appropriate for 12 and over. And then we have YA 16, which is appropriate for 16 and over. There will be more information about this on the website. And so we also have another category. This is what you heard me asking Rebecca about in her review. I said, that kind of sounds like it could be sweet and sour adult. And the reason why is because right now, currently, the industry uses the term clean romance. And I've seen it, not that I want to, I don't want to offend anybody, but it's brought up that a lot of people, like, it rubs them the wrong way to say clean romance, because a lot of people have a different idea of what that's referring to, and they feel judgment or whatnot. For me, sweet and sour adult basically means 17 and older. Like, it includes adult theme, and which means that the themes themselves might be difficult to read, but in terms of language, it's not going to be full of tons of cuss words. Generally, it's fade to black. There might be adult topics, like I said, like drug use or abuse, but you don't see it in detail. Does that make sense? So it could deal with harsher themes and topics without getting too graphic, because for a lot of people experience hardships and trauma and all of that, it could be difficult for them. And then, of course, we have the adult category. We have gone a step further I have gone a step further, and I also created what Book Talk currently refers to as the spice rating. But I went ahead and called it the sexual content. Let's call it what it is. And I'm singling it out only because for me, and me and Rebecca, we read a lot. We're seeing this as a large issue, especially in young adult books. And again, cartoon covers and whatnot, where, readers go in and they want to read a certain style of book and they're getting something completely different. And I brought up an example on my author page in TikTok with Kingdom of the Feared, where the third chapter was, again, this is marketed YA by her publisher, Carrie Maniscalco's publisher, where it's a very descriptive whole chapter of oral sex, a woman giving a man oral sex, like most of the whole chapter, and very, very descriptive. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to read what you want to read. I'm saying that for people who that's not appropriate for, they have a right to know, and for that book to be properly labeled, right?
And again, we're talking about a YA genre where the age range is 12 to 17. So if you're a parent, my kids are adults now and they can read whatever they want, but if my 13-year-old was going nuts in the bookstore and I didn't know this about books and how some publishers are putting very adult books in the YA genre, and my child went over into the YA section, grabbed a book that had a really cute, cartoony looking cover, and it's YA, and I looked at it, I'd be like, yeah, sure, no problem, go ahead and read it.
If you guys have heard of Neon Gods, have you heard of Neon Gods series?
Yep. I have.
I've seen that in YA tabletops.
Yeah, and I haven't read it. I'm going to, but I haven't read it, but I've heard it's very graphic.
Very graphic.
And it's
okay.
young adult.
What I say is you as a parent get to decide what your kid. Me, personally, I am morally opposed to 13-year-olds, 12, 13, 14-year-olds reading about oral sex and it being described in more ways than I could even imagine.
Right.
And it's a book where you can just, they can just skip past that. It's like the damage was already done, but also the whole book, like that is the plot of the book, is these sexcapades. So I'm just like, as a parent, and again, you could say, well, I was reading whatever. It's not about you. It's about people having the right to choose a book.
To make a choice. Yeah.
To make a choice, and for them, and all we're asking is for them to be properly labeled. So at this point, I'm going to kind of close off the discussion, but next week we're going to pick up with that, but it will be on our website. We're going to pick up with this discussion. We'll be reviewing Spinning Silver is what I'm finishing up by Naomi Novik. It's a YA book, and I'll be reviewing that. Rebecca will be continuing the discussion on content ratings, where she'll go in and she'll kind of read through for you so you can become more familiar with what gets placed into what category. And again, this is not about censorship. This is truly about just helping readers make informed decisions, because they have a right to know, and they have a right to be able to read stuff that is appropriate for them at their choice, and for parents to be able to also have more guidance to choose what books for their kiddos.
Yes,
that's my soapbox.
Well, because even for movies, there's a website where you can go to and you can look up a movie and see, hey, is it safe for my child to watch this movie? There's really not anything like that. Yeah, video games. There's not anything like that for books.
Any other like anything else, you have to have ratings. Video games, TV shows, movies. I mean, and I know everybody's not the same as well. You have to remember that a lot of people who read, they see a movie in their head. They don't just see words in their head. A lot of people, so that's another, like, I think, issue. For some people, it's like, oh, it's just words. It doesn't affect me. But there's a lot of people who get very vivid imagery of movie playing in their head, where it's a different story. So, and then you're like, well, you can just fast forward that part. And it's like, well, how do you know how far to go without being triggered again? So, again, it's not about you,
Right.
If you're comfortable reading whatever the heck you want, that's great. But for the people who aren't, they should be able to have confidence in a rating system that they can feel confident choosing that book with what kind of content it has.
Yes. So join us next week here at Bloop. We'll be on time next week.